some company that we love talking with every single week. We're talking about Rick Crawford, the All-American cultural icon. Time to throw the green flag on the Rick Crawford Show for this Wednesday. Day late and not a dollar short. Rick Crawford, top of the morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Pete. How are y'all this morning?
Rick, we're okay. We, again, appreciate your flexibility this week. But before we start talking about Atlanta, I want to talk about Mobile International Speedway because I know you guys were right in the middle of all that horrible weather that hit the Gulf Coast last weekend.
Man, it was an early call-off, I guess you'd call it. I'm new at this promoting game, but I've learned a lot through the years, and I didn't want to play with these competitors and fans. Almost $4 a gallon gas for their rigs and $3.70 a gallon for their cars and things like that. And all along the Gulf Coast, I mean, our weather forecast was like, it's coming, it's here, nothing we can do about it. There ain't a ray of sunshine in the weekend, so I called it off on Thursday afternoon, and I think all the racers appreciated that. I was stopping them at home and trying to make a last-minute decision. I was going to not only the Weather Channel, but to meteorologists in Mobile and saying, hey, do we have a chance to get this? Because it was a big event, and we have a chance to get this race in. And they were like, you got a 2% chance of getting this race in. And I said, that's not enough to gamble with these folks. And because I'm a racer, I put the racing hat on. I'm like, I'm coming to Mobile. I want to race. But at the same time, the weather wasn't allowing it. So I stopped everybody on Thursday afternoon. And so far, I mean, it was the right decision.
How much rain did you get down there in Mobile?
They were predicting 9 to 12 inches, and I think New Orleans got the hit of it, the most of it. But I do know there was some, roof damages and things like that around Mobile area, and some flooding going on in the low-lying areas. But at the same time, I think it wasn't as bad a storm as they anticipated it being, but it was a little bit of wind and then a lot of rain. So that's basically what we got, and it was. To tell you the truth, it was a lot of areas that needed some welcome rain, and just thank goodness for that. But it wasn't a very big storm. But at the same time, it lasted a long time because it's slow moving. So, but think of this: the Lee Fields Memorial, and it was canceled out by a storm named Lee. I think that it maybe was trying to tell us something. And so what I can figure out on this, maybe Labor Day wasn't really the right date because I assumed the schedule this year. And maybe it wasn't the right date to have this particular race. So we're going to probably move it toward the end of September, October. Now it's September 29th, October 1st, been rescheduled, so we're good to go now.
All right, well, that's good news, and glad to hear that, big picture, everybody is okay down there, and you guys will race again. We did finally race at Atlanta yesterday on a Tuesday, only the second time since 1978 that we've done that in the Sprint Cup Series, and I would say that for Jeff Gordon, it was worth the wait. Rick, was a pretty good race on Tuesday down there at Atlanta for old GJ.
Absolutely, and what I was really surprised about through the day is we all talk about the weather changes, and I know Atlanta, it lends to different weather extremes, and all the teams, it looked like almost all the teams, at least 90% of them, kept up with that racetrack and put on a great show, and I tell you what, those last 10 laps between Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon was extraordinary.
When you have a situation where you're getting down towards the checkered flag, you're on a hot and slick racetrack, and the tires are giving up, and you're throwing haymakers back and forth between you and somebody else. How far can you afford to push the point? I know if you push it too hard, you're going to crash, but do you always keep a little in reserve for if you get involved in that battle late in the going that you got something left in the tank, so to speak? Well,
you hope you have something left. And I think Jeff Gordon had a little more left than Jimmy Johnson did. That's what it looked like, and because he was really loose there toward the end. And those two guys there are at the top of their game. Their teams are at the top of the game. They've risen to the occasion at this time of year. Look out! I've always said that on my show on Tuesdays. Where's six pack at? And then you got somebody else wants to be 5-time, and so anyway, but. Later in the race like that, when you get down toward the end, I mean, I hope I got a little more. And I tell you what, when that adrenaline starts pumping, I can get up on top of that wheel, and it's like I know I can go faster. Sometimes it hurts, but because you slow down, sometimes it's the harder you drive, the slower you get. But you could just tell these guys here had a little bit left, and they give it all to the fans. And what a great finish at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
No, we've been marveling at the slipping and sliding that went on there yesterday, Rick, over the course of the 500 miles. And, again, there's a lot of mile-and-a-half racetracks out there. To me, you're not going to get better racing than what we see at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and a lot of that has to do with that worn-out surface that we have down there.
It is, and it's all over the place. I mean, you can run low, you can run high, you can run in the middle. If your car ain't handling just right on the bottom, go search around. And I used to do that, and it's really a neat place to race. But I'll tell you what's so neat about it is how fast it is, and it's only a mile and a half, and it's like, well, how fast would it be if they repaved this place? But I hope they don't. I hope they leave it alone, and Goodyear still makes a good tire for it, because it seems like they do. And it took a lot of learning. Once the pavement got wore out, Goodyear had to change. And it took some learning there, but right now it looks like, they do have a tire that lasts through the fuel run. I mean, look at Hornaday on Friday night. I called him Saturday and told him, I said, you're the only driver to pull in victory lane with the roof flap up. And he says, what are you talking about, Crawford? I'll take them anywhere I can get them. And I said, well, you backed into it. And he was like, well, I told Lindy that I didn't have a fast enough truck to go out there and outrun them. But at the same time, we beat him on fuel strategy, and he did. And I think he ran over 50 laps on those set of tires. And so it was nice to see Ron Hornaday win in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. And then we're back right to it, and we got a new points leader there too. James Busher took over the points lead there, just like Jimmy Johnson did in Cup.
And James Busher hasn't run all the races, which makes that more remarkable to me, that he's one race down to the field, but he's leading the points.
Very consistent. That they got a tough team over there at Turner Motorsports. They got Hendrick engines and really tough team over there. And you can tell that Steve Turner was going through a learning curve. I thought he done bit off more than he could chew, and I think if he looked at himself in the mirror, he'd probably say, "Damn, I did." But at the same time, it looks like all this stuff except for Saturday night nationwide race where two teammates got together. Turner Motorsports is bringing itself right up to being a powerhouse organization in the Truck Series and the Nationwide Series, and because they both have contenders for that championship, and they both won races.
Here's a little trivia question for you. Talking about James Busher, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, he failed to qualify in the second race of the year at Phoenix International Raceway, and he has been on a tear with a lot of consistency lately, and finally takes over the lead in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series championship standings. What NASCAR champion won the title without running every race?
I'm going to phone a friend and call Rick Crawford. Rick?
I would say David Pearson. How about that? Is that a close answer or what?
Actually, Sam Ard, the last to do it in 1984.
The Nationwide Series.
Yeah.
Busch Series, right?
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's
But
remarkable.
Mike, wasn't that where they ran like 6 races a year?
Say that again.
So it was 84?
Yeah, 1984.
Yeah, I think by then they had cut the schedule down, so they weren't running 100 nights a year. But yeah, well, that's still an amazing feat. Now, we're going to Richmond this weekend, and I have to say, I know we raced on a Tuesday, but there's a part of me that wishes we were racing tomorrow, like back in the day when the trucks used to race on a Thursday at Richmond in the fall.
Oh, I do too, and I feel like that was. To me, that was a bad call for Richmond International Raceway and NASCAR to drop the trucks from that weekend. That was a fun race for the trucks. We had the fans. Had something to do. I keep hearing this. It had something to do with children getting to school on Friday. And so anyway, I understand that if we're keeping up late at night, we ought to start just a little bit earlier or something like that. And but that was a really neat place for the trucks to go as Richmond International Raceway.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is we're going to have the Nationwide Series there on Friday night, but then on Saturday night, Rick, we have 14 guys we figured out mathematically still alive for the final 3 spots to make the chase. Saturday night shaping up to be a pretty wild one there in Richmond.
Absolutely, and I can't wait. And I know there's a lot of drivers and teams that can't wait. I think they're still hearts pounding from Atlanta. They're not going to be able to cool off much. I think the cars are ready back at the shop. I think the crew chief is coming back today to look at them and load them in the rigs and take them on to Richmond. And I think what you've seen, other than practice, I bet you these teams have done all they can do. I think all these cars are finished. The teams are ready to go. The equipment's being loaded today. They all got it laid out, and Richmond's going to be one fine race. And if you make it, you make it. If you don't, you should have tried harder back in March or April.
That's right. If you missed the chase on Saturday night, you had 25 previous weekends to get the job done.
Absolutely. It's not because you didn't make it on Friday night or Saturday night. I mean Saturday night. It's you wasn't prepared all year long, and you can't just say, well, one race knocked me out. No, you didn't put it together all year to have yourself enough insurance to be in the chase on Saturday night.
What's coming up at Mobile International Speedway this weekend, Rick?
Nothing. We are closed this weekend. I hate to say that word, but no, we're not doing anything extra there. I got to let a little secret out there. Filming a part of a movie at Mobile International Speedway today.
Oh wow!
And so anyway, we're not open this weekend. Our next event is September 24th with the 5th round of the Miller Lite Super Late Model Series. Then we come back the very next weekend with the Lee Fields Memorial 150 for the Pro Late Models. And then our Halloween bash at the end of the month, the week after Talladega. So if anybody's in Talladega and they're just traveling south of the Gulf Coast, still in some warm, sunny beach weather, come on down and see us on Halloween weekend. We took over Talladega, so it's actually Halloween Mobile. And so we're down at Mobile International Speedway for the Halloween bash.
You know what you should do is get the folks from Oscar Mayer involved and have that the Halloweener Mobile. Come on.
He's a marketing genius, Rick.
Yep, I can see it now. The hot dog going around the racetrack, I can see it now.
Appreciate the time, pal. We'll catch up next week.
Hey, I look forward to it. Next Tuesday, folks, maybe back on schedule if no rain comes to Richmond. So, but anyway, enjoyed the show. Thanks for inviting me in and being a part of it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. That is Rick Crawford, host of the Rick Crawford Show here on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio.
That's a good idea.